How is the future of the Sky Blues going to be safeguarded? That's the question on the mind of every Sky Blues fan as the administrator who's been called into the club continues to ponder what to do next. Paul Appleton met creditors yesterday, but the meeting was adjourned for a fortnight. Is that vital time lost as the close season rushes by? Is again uppermost in the thoughts of fans. Let's talk to the Sky Blues Chief Executive, Tim Fisher, who joins us on the show. Tim, morning. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Morning, Shane. My pleasure.
What can you tell us about the meeting yesterday, first of all? Did it go according to plan? Because obviously some people are concerned that it's been adjourned for 2 weeks now and wonder whether that's time lost.
Yeah, first of all, I wasn't at the meeting because I'm the powerless director of Football Club Limited, and secondly, I had better things to do. So I was meeting with Stephen Presley, going through his plans again yesterday. The news of the delay and the adjournment was very frustrating.
Was it unexpected? Because we were saying on the show yesterday, we kind of there was a feeling there wasn't really an expectation of anything great coming out of that yesterday.
I think you're right about your expectation. You know, creditors' meeting is very matter of fact and nothing extraordinary about that. I suspect the frustration and the disappointment is around the fact that the administration process goes on and will be delayed, and that obviously has an impact on putting together the squad, because Stephen Presley is very clear in his mind which players he wants. He's targeted those players, and clearly we can't go and get them until we've come out of administration and come out of transfer embargo.
That'd be what I mean. Some people will be shocked and surprised when you say you've got better things to do, because you can't get on and do any of those things until this is cleared up, can you?
Shane, I don't know if you heard me, I'm the powerless director of Football Club Limited, so I can't really have any impact at a creditors' meeting per se.
No, but you did say that you had better things to do, and I must admit I raised my eyebrows because I thought, well, what could possibly be better? You can't do anything until this is resolved, can you, really? Well,
what I can do is get on with the business of running holdings, which is the football club, and we continue to do that on a day-to-day basis. The world doesn't stop at the football club while we wait for lawyers and insolvency practitioners to go around in ever-decreasing circles.
No, the world doesn't stop, but your season might not start. Doesn't that bother you?
Why wouldn't the season start, Shane?
If the Football League say that you can't play.
Why would the Football League say we can't play?
Because they might say that you don't have an entitlement to play in the Football League. Because you put that company into administration, and at the moment they're saying that's where the club is.
Well, that's an interesting point to take, because under company law, insolvency law, the Enterprise Act, then holdings holds the beneficial interest of the football club. That's where all the contracts are and were. And that's where all the bank accounts are and were, and that's where all the Football League monies come into and go out of, all the transfers go into and out of. So explain to me why that isn't a football club. Yeah, but you know better than I do that there is business and there is football business, and there are different rules that apply. And if the Football League say that's what happens, it's their club and they say who's playing, because it's very childish, I suppose, but they're entitled to do that, aren't they? Well, actually, Shane, there's no distinction, there's no such thing as a sort of football administrator. You've got a company administrator, and that's it. And if you look at the football regulations, I would ask everybody to read them, because you can just go to the website and read them, then you would see that Holdings continues to practice its business in accordance with not just the law of England and Wales, but also the Football League regulations. But
there are different rules, aren't there, for football business? For example, at a creditors' meeting, if it was an ordinary business, HMRC would have an interest. In football, they don't. They don't. Unless you're a football-related creditor, you don't have an interest.
Shane, with respect, that's simply not true. And again, running a company in administration, the administrator, who is an officer of the court and therefore has some very serious responsibilities, has to follow the law of the land, and that's what I believe Mr. Appleton is doing.
Let's move on to the football ground itself, the Ricoh Arena. I mean, you're, as far as I understand it, you're adamant now that you're never going to play there again.
Ooh, where do we start here? Well, I can start with the multiple times we were told the Ricoh Arena doesn't need a football club because it's a self-sustaining business, and by the way, you're only 20% of our income. We can go through to the letters we received saying we will no longer negotiate with you, through to the letters we received saying there will never be a commercial deal for the football club or Sisu. To, of course, the point which you're trying to raise, which is the legitimacy of holdings. And ACL are upholding their view that they will only deal with the administrator and the football club as they perceive an administration, Football Club Limited. So I'm not quite sure who I would be negotiating with on the basis of I'd be sat alone at the table.
So when they say the doors to the Ricoh are open, but what they're not saying is, as far as you're concerned, is they're saying that the doors are open to the Ricoh, but not to you, presumably.
That's absolutely correct, and they just don't say it. They've gone in writing on multiple occasions, Shane.
I'm getting texts, and if you have a look on Twitter this morning, you can actually see the stuff that's coming through as well. And a lot of people are saying, look, they want you to go. They want you to resign. They don't want you to be part of the club. They want Sisu to go. I mean, that's been a theme for a long time now, Tim, as well. I mean, how do you react to that kind of fan reaction? Do you take that on board or not?
I've still got a job to do, Shane, and Sisu are the legal owners of the football club. So I suspect people can say what they like, but I don't think it'll make any difference.
We're starting to hear from fans as well. In fact, we heard one this morning saying, look, what they want to hear is from people like Joyce Sapala now, and they want to hear from Sisu and what they have to say, because they want to know, why they're in this situation, watching two sides fight. They feel they're stuck in the middle. Does Joyce Sapala owe it to the fans? If you own a football club, can you be a private person as well, or do you owe it to the fans to say, look, this is what I'm intending to do?
Well, Joy and I talk, I'd say every day, but certainly every other day, and Joy and Sisu's position is very clear, which the football club belongs to Sisu, and it is not for sale. Now, your other point is, Tim, you need to get across to the fans what's happening, which is I've started this grand tour of Coventry and the localities, sitting down with people and taking them through not just the short-term vision and the long-term vision and a new stadium, but also the history, Shane, because the history is very important, because there's a lot of confusion. And the confusion is around exactly and precisely what has happened to date, but also not just the short-term history, but the longer-term history. So when I sit down with fans, and to your point, some fans don't even want to talk to me. They say, Tim, I don't even like the colour of your eyes, so I'm not going to talk to you. But when you get into the history, and for example, you get into all the events that surrounded the board resolution of the 19th of December 2003, then people sit up and go, I wasn't aware of that. I say, absolutely. So there are some real issues which people aren't aware of, and I've just undertaken to go out and talk to people. And people say, you know what, Tim, I actually will buy into the vision of of a stadium, a new stadium. I get that, as long as it is in the Coventry area. But you know what, Tim? We should never have left Highfield Road. And when I go into the events and conditions around how and why the club left Highfield Road, it leaves people shocked.
Does Joyce Sapala ever tell you why Coventry City Football Club isn't for sale? Because I have to say, as an outsider looking at it, it's not going particularly well. Where's the point that you cut your losses as an investor?
Well, if you have a long-term view, and of course Sisu do have a long-term view, and you feel there's an opportunity to turn it around, and by owning your own stadium, and therefore earning every single pound of revenue that comes out of that stadium, then they believe there is an opportunity to realise some value, and that's what they'll do.
But those figures don't stack up, though, do they? I mean, match day revenues aren't going to save the losses that Sisu are suffering, are they?
term, absolutely they will. Because it's not just about the actual cash flows themselves, but if you have a new stadium which you own, then there's a net asset value associated with all the businesses in and around that stadium, which creates value.
How long?
Sisu came into this, of course, to create value.
How long term is their plan then? How many more years are they looking ahead? 5, 10, longer?
Oh, this is a 10-year horizon. Again, let me be absolutely crystal clear. Sisu are in for the long haul.
And as a final point, we've covered a lot of ground. I really appreciate you being with us. But as a final point, I mean, there's this concern over the memorial garden and that being moved, and the memorial wall, and talk of people's ashes and the emotion of all of that as well. Are you still planning on moving that? And do you feel you have the right to do that?
That's a very good question, Shane. And look, football itself is emotional. But when you start talking about memorial gardens and statues to Jimmy Hill and bricks in the wall, then it gets really emotional.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be so crass as to make a unilateral decision as to what happens to those. And what we would do, with full consultation with the fans, is work out a plan.
So you changed your mind from what you said to Stuart Linnell then?
Did I really? What did I say to Stuart Linnell?
You said that your plan was that it would move to the new ground.
My statement was that the statue...
Didn't you say it was agenda item 1, 2 and 3?
No, I said it was agenda items 3, 4 and 5.
3, 4 and 5, okay. Sure. We're agreeing on the basics of we got the numbers wrong, okay. But I mean, you're saying something different this morning, aren't you?
No, what I'm saying, Shane, is in terms of where we're at today, and in terms of the priority of the business today, it was, number 1, the short-term plan, number 2... the long-term vision, and then 3, 4 and 5, those very key and critical points which you've raised.
You didn't mention consultation, talking to people, and of course that's what got people quite upset and angry, wasn't it?
Well, then for that I apologise, but I thought, again, I'd made myself pretty clear in a statement thereafter.